I, until COVID came along, volunteered for about 5 years at the Dallas Zoo. I would take the train every Wednesday about 11 o'clock, all the way straight to the zoo, and I would go see my elephants. As you probably all know, I'm totally crazy about all animals, but the big love of my life is the elephant. I was happy to be there. Well, not quite there, but the day after Ajabu, our baby elephant, was born. So I watched Ajabu from the age of 3 months to the age of like 3, I think. Anyway, enough about me. Marty is the Dallas Zoo's Senior Director of Education and has been at the zoo since 2012. She oversees the education department, which includes interpretation and guest engagement throughout the park. She's a busy lady, as well as specialized programs for schools, families, youth, and early childhood, including Wild Earth Preschool, the zoo's full-time licensed childcare center. And I understand it's very popular. So, Marty, it's yours.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm so happy to see you all and be sharing this Saturday afternoon with you. And thank you for the opportunity to share about the Dallas Zoo. I will make sure that you are fully prepared to have one of your new outings at the zoo before I'm done. I'm also going to give you just an introduction to the zoo, share about our conservation priorities, including how you can help save wildlife. And we'll get to know a few of our animals. I don't have time to talk about all of them, but hopefully you will come away at least getting an update on your favorite. So I had a couple of requests for babies and new things from this past year. So we'll focus on those. Are you all seeing my screen now? Creating a better world for animals. All right. So here we are. So we have, let's see if I can make it advance. There we go. Even people who haven't ever been to the zoo are going to maybe be familiar with or have seen our iconic giraffe statue, which stands there at the entrance on I-35. It was installed in 1997 and stands at 67.5 feet tall, which makes it the tallest statue in Texas. So it is slightly higher than that Sam Houston statue on 45. And I think of it as sort of the banner or the flagship for our mission. The zoo's mission is engaging people and saving wildlife. So this giraffe is standing there inviting everyone to join with us in saving wildlife. Oh, it advanced for me, but I want to go back. Oh, how do I do that? Let's see. No. There we go. So I wanted you to see, this is a pretty recent picture of our, it's our Bug U house where our invertebrates are housed. But it's actually a Works Progress Administration building built in the 1930s. And so I wanted to share just a brief history of the zoo. We were actually founded in 1888. Over 130 years ago. And when the zoo was founded, it had just 2 deer and 2 mountain lions. And then for a brief time from 1910 to 1912, the zoo was actually located in Fair Park. And then it was moved to its current location in Marsalis Park in 1912 with just 36 acres. And then these Works Progress buildings are, and bridges, different areas at the zoo are from the 1930s. Of course, now we are 106 acres. So bring your walking shoes when you come to the zoo. The park is, this is a current view. You can see, so the original area is here. It's called Zoo North. And then our entrance, we have the Wilds of Africa, which was added in 1990 and is the Gorilla Trail, and the new Simmons Hippo Outpost, which was added, I think in 2014. And then the Giants of the Savannah was actually, I'm gonna talk a little bit about that because it is a is a big changing point for the zoo. It came in 2010, it opened. It's an 11-acre mixed species exhibit. But it was right after the zoo moved to private management. So previously owned and operated by the city of Dallas. And in 2009, the zoo privatized and is in a partnership with the city of Dallas, but we are managed and employed by Dallas Zoo Management Incorporated, a 501c3. And there's a master plan in progress, so there's more growth still to come. Here's the DART station. So it sounds like you guys like to go on trips and bring host or be host families to people who are traveling, and you can easily ride the DART to the zoo and just walk across to the entrance of the zoo pretty easily. That was added in 1996. And we welcomed over 1 million visitors every year for 5 years running up until COVID hit. And then we were closed for many weeks from mid-March till the end of May last year. So like I said, our one-of-a-kind Giants of the Savannah is an 11-acre beautiful space. Julia, you would be very familiar with this. You can see your elephants there. It is the only habitat of its kind in the US, mixing elephants with other species like giraffe, zebra, and ostrich, guinea fowl, kudu. So they all roam together there several days a week. Sometimes we can actually control when it is open and when it is separated. And we have a lot of ways to sort of create choice for the animals that way. Here's another image, a nice view of our Giants of the Savannah. So we also, I'll share a little bit about just how we're structured. We have been continually accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums since 1985. And as an AZA member, we adhere to what is considered the gold standard of animal care and welfare. So AZA is comprised of about 230, I think, individual institutions around the zoo. And this is to help you sort of understand the difference between a roadside zoo or a place where you might see questionable animal welfare or type of care that you think doesn't look good. You're probably at a zoo that's not AZA accredited. But when you come to the Dallas Zoo, you can rest assured that we are following and adhering to, and often above the standards that are set by this group. And as an AZA member, we also participate in species survival plans, which we also call it SSP. You'll hear that today. But that's been compared to a Match.com, but for animals. So these animals that are in human care are often representing an endangered species in their natural environments. And so the zoos, the experts, the zoologists are collecting the data. They're keeping track of individual characteristics, of genetics, of history, of health. And they're looking at all of these things for each individual. And then they're making breeding recommendations. And so that means that we share our animals across zoos from the AZA network so that these assurance populations can continue to thrive. And also this helps maintain or ensure a genetic diversity as well, so that we have really healthy and strong populations in human care. Our conservation strategy is called Protecting the 12. So this is how we bring our messaging and funding and all of our efforts into alignment. And really conveniently, there are 12 months in a year. So this allows us to engage our staff, our members, and our guests in the ongoing conservation work of the zoo. So this month, actually, April, is all about elephants. And I'm sure Julia can tell you even more, but I will just mention that we are focused on elephants this month in all of our messaging in the park, and in social media, you'll see great things about elephants too. And Dallas Zoo is organizing a coalition of partners in Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia for an ecosystem-wide effort to save the region's last remaining wild forest habitat and the elephants that live there. And you probably know this, but in case you don't, elephants are actually threatened by human behavior, including poaching or illegal hunting for their tusks. So the wildlife trade, both the legal and illegal wildlife trade, is the second largest threat to biodiversity on our planet. It is a global issue, but it's happening right here, right now in Dallas as well. This is the trafficking of body parts like elephant ivory, giraffe leather, and more. Even pet trade issues are part of this season of messaging. So tigers, turtles, monkeys, all kinds of different animals are affected by the pet trade, and not in a good way. So here is Ajabu, our youngest elephant, reminding you to never buy ivory and to tell other people you know never to buy ivory, and why. It is killing elephants and their populations are in decline. Actually, just last week, they were labeled as endangered, and forest elephants as critically endangered. All right, well, now I'm going to introduce you to a few of our animals, starting with birds, then amphibians and reptiles and mammals. I don't have time to introduce you to everyone, but I'll just share the ones that seem to be the most popular or that I just particularly like. So we do have over 120 different species of birds, and many of them are managed by AZA species survival plans. So I'll start with our whooping crane. And this picture was actually taken during the recent February storms. And we're happy to say that all the animals did fine in that period of time, really due to the dedicated keeper staff. We had a ride out team of staff who were spending the night at the zoo. They were there for 3 days in a row without going home to take care of their freezing and bursting things at home. They were at the zoo caring for the animals day in and day out and overnight, and everything is fine, and we came through it just fine. And the whooping cranes are actually at an offsite center called the Whooping Crane Center of Texas out at Samuel Farm. So we are caring for several breeding pair of whooping cranes, and this is a native Texas bird. So you maybe know that not long ago, whooping cranes were actually on the brink of extinction, with less than 15 individuals remaining in the wild. You heard that, 15. But thanks to reintroduction efforts led by zoos and other conservation organizations, and this species numbers are now over 700 today. And that's really thanks to the work at these places like our Whooping Crane Center of Texas, where we continue that work. We're caring for the several breeding pairs, like I said, and the young that are produced will be introduced into wild populations to help them continue to come back. So a few things you can do to make sure that crane populations continue to rebound and thrive are to watch your seafood that you eat. And there's an app called Seafood Watch. It's free. You can download it and use it to help you make good choices when you're buying seafood at the store or ordering it at a restaurant. And that helps whooping cranes because they depend on blue crabs. And that's one of their favorite foods. They eat that to get the strength and sustenance they need for their migration. But due to unsustainable fishing, crab populations are actually in decline. So you can help all kinds of different fish eating animals by downloading the Seafood Watch app. Okay, another favorite, African penguins. Let's see if this is gonna, there we go. So African penguins are actually from Africa, not from Antarctica. There are, I think, 17 species of penguins, and not all of them live in the cold. Actually, many of them live in warmer climates. They're all in the southern hemisphere, and this is a species that is native to the rocky coastlines of southern Africa. And we did have some babies hatch this spring or earlier this spring. So here's a shot from February. We had the one kind of on top was hatched January 20th, and then the other one was hatched February 5th. And these are now integrating into the flock, and they, will grow up, and you might see them when maybe they'll be swimming by the time you're out at the zoo. Okay, so another one of my favorites. These are our Caribbean flamingos. You would see these in Zoo North. They're one of 6 subspecies of flamingos. They actually have the greatest distribution. They're native to shallow coastal lagoons in the Bahamas, in the West Indies, the Mexican Yucatan, northern South America, and the Galapagos. And a couple of fun facts: their color comes from the carotenoid pigment in the algae that they eat, not shrimp. And then also a group of flamingos. Does anyone know what a group of flamingos is called? A flamboyance, which I think is super fun. A flamboyance of flamingos in a nice shallow coastal lagoon makes you want to travel today, doesn't it? Okay, so there are actually a lot more birds, and there are 2 different aviaries that you can enter: our immersive forest aviary in the wilds of Africa, and then Birds Landing. Where Birds Landing, you can actually purchase a seed stick and then enter into this immersive aviary where the birds might land on you or on your hand and eat seeds from the stick as you're holding it. And this is Gomez, our cockatiel, that landed on this little girl. Of course, that's pre-COVID. A lot of the pictures I have here, if it shows people, you're going to wonder why they aren't wearing masks. Well, that's because it's pre-COVID. So next up, amphibians. There are about 30 different species of amphibians at the zoo. This is the blue poison dart frog. It is, amphibians are really facing a crisis in the wild because of introduced diseases, loss of habitat, environmental change, and the pet trade industry. But the Dallas Zoo is working on amphibian conservation projects across the globe, including the Amphibian Ark, to save these vanishing species. So we have a propagation center called the Amphibian Rescue Center, the ARC, where our zoologists are breeding a couple of different species of amphibians through these SSPs, the Species Survival Plan. And so in the ARC, we're actually breeding the Puerto Rican crested toad and the Mississippi gopher frog, or the dusky gopher frog. And these, there are reintroduction efforts underway already for the Mississippi gopher frog, and pending for the Puerto Rican crested toad. But actually just this past September in 2020, Dallas Zoo, along with Memphis Zoo and Omaha's Henry Dorley Zoo, released over 500 dusky gopher frogs into a wildlife management area in Mississippi. And that was their 4th release in 2020, and totaling over 3,000 hatchlings introduced that year, last year. So pretty exciting to know that our zoologists are doing that work. And moving on to reptiles, is actually the sailfin lizard from the Philippines, which is an incredible animal that can actually swim, a lizard that can swim. So we have over 100 and about 140 different species of reptiles, including the largest collection of venomous snakes in the US. I'm told that actually when someone in the US is bit by, or in the southern US, when they're bit by a venomous snake, if it's an exotic snake, then the hospital will reach out to the Dallas Zoo for the antivenom, because we have it. And so you can actually Google that and see articles about when that has happened. This is the rock collard, or the collared lizard. And it's actually native to South Central US, including Oklahoma, and they are the state reptile of Oklahoma. And at top speeds, they can lift their front legs off the ground and run on their hind limbs. But I just love it that it's that awesome splash of color. And I mentioned venomous snakes. This is the Mengshan pit viper. one of the largest venomous snakes in the world, found in mountainous regions of China. It's nocturnal, and as a viper, it has really long fangs, and they're able to fold up into its mouth when it's closed. And this is an endangered animal. Our next one is one of our focuses in our Protecting the 12 conservation strategy when so I've shared about some of the conservation work we're doing in and around the state of Texas, and this is one. You may know them as horny toads, but they are actually lizards. These are our Texas horn lizards, the state reptile of Texas. And they have an intimidation tactic to shoot blood from their eyes, which is pretty cool. But these are at risk, and their populations are declining throughout the state. And that's due to habitat loss and to the loss of their primary food source, harvester ants. So it's overuse of pesticides and the presence of our invasive fire ants that have wiped out the harvester ant colonies, which leaves horned lizards struggling to find food. And something you can do, we can all do, pretty easy thing here to help Texas horned lizards stick around for future generations. We can just swap out our harmful pesticides for natural alternatives so that the harmful chemicals won't reach the environment and kill the native insects, which are a food source to our native animals. So try this, an equal parts water and vinegar mix or lemon juice. So that's a mix of equal parts water and vinegar or lemon juice, and that can repel ants from your house or garden. It's just as effective, but much more wildlife friendly. And we have long been involved in research of Texas horned lizards. And here is a photo from a recent release out in western central Texas, where we monitor the habitat and the populations of the Texas horned lizards. You can see those tiny hatchlings. They're about the size of a penny, if you can imagine, and so adorable. All right, so next up is mammals. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time because we have a lot of mammals that are everyone's favorite. We'll get going here. We actually have 68 different species of mammals, and almost all of them are managed by AZA species survival plans. So this is our Sumatran tiger. We actually have 5 different tigers, and disclaimer, I know this is being recorded, but I could have out of date information about some things, but from what I remember. So these are actually solitary. You'll only ever see one out in public, on public view at a time. But these Sumatran tigers are the smallest of the tiger subspecies and native to the island of Sumatra in Indonesia. Another Asian animal are Asian small-clawed otters. Super cute and fun. Also native to southern regions of China and India, as well as Indonesia and the Philippines. We actually have 2 breeding pairs of otters, and they all just had a birthday in January. So our males, DJ and Jimmy, turned 15, and our females, Jelly and Tasani, turned 10 and 7 respectively. So we've talked a little bit about elephants. Our African elephant herd. These are just amazing and intelligent animals. And I wanted you to see, this is actually from August of 2019, but you'll get to see something fun here, and all of our, if it doesn't have sound, I can fix that. But we have 8 in our herd: Jenny, Gypsy, Congo, Kamba, Zola, Tendaji, Malilo, and Ajabu. So you can see how they're cooling off on World Elephant Day in 2019 with the water cannon and swimming in the pools. And they love cooling off in those summer days as much as we do. Okay, there was a little bit of music with that. Someone can unmute and tell me whether or not that worked. Did you hear it? You did hear the music. Okay, thank you, Edward. All right. Well, you mentioned, or I was told you might be interested in babies. So this is from last year as well. This is Tana, but she is our youngest giraffe. She's not this young anymore. She's not as small as a baby anymore, but when they're born, they actually drop 6 feet to the ground and they can walk within an hour or two. So Tana was born around noon, and was able to walk within at about 1 o'clock. She was born in August, to Betty, one of our older giraffes. And then when you come to the zoo, another pre-COVID photo here, you can make plans to visit our giraffe feeding platform and get up close and feed lettuce or sometimes crackers to the giraffes. And that's a great way to see them. This male giraffe can stand 18 feet tall, but there you are face to face with them. And that's super fun. Very exciting opportunity. Also, another kind of fairly new animal to the zoo is the African painted dog. So this is in our predator habitats, sort of opposite of the giraffes and elephants. We have our African painted dogs and our African lions. And the painted dogs, this is a pack. We actually have three, two males and a female. The female, Cholula, joined us from Denver Zoo, and just last year. So actually, this is another one of the almost every animal I'm showing you is endangered. There are only 7,000 individuals remaining in the wild. And they're just really highly intelligent. They do live in packs. They have a really complicated and intricate social structure and are considered some of the world's most successful predators. Their average success rate is about 80%. And to put that in perspective, African lions have about a 20 to 30% success rate in hunting. And anyway, so our brothers Jata and Mazingo there, and then female Cholula, and they are all getting along really well. Meerkats are over on the gorilla trail. These adorable little animals, they're actually really good hunters too. They predate on insects, lizards, and birds. They also eat fruit. They're cooperative and they take turns doing different jobs, like being the lookout for a predatory flying bird over the top. They also communicate with each other when they're hunting and foraging, and they use little purring sounds. So that's a sweet picture, but you can look on our Dallas Zoo Facebook page and browse some of the videos, and you can see they have very sharp teeth. And are excellent hunters, like I said. So chimps, we have a troop of chimpanzees, an intergenerational troop that is highly dynamic. This photo was taken when Mashindi was only 7 months old, and you can see him there as a baby. He is now 7 years old, but I wanted to show you the baby photo there. And they're always doing something interesting. So they're very highly social, just like humans. They care for their young for many years. Of course, they share 98% of DNA with humans. These are the okapi, so you can get a couple of views there. You may be thinking they could be related to zebras because of their stripe patterns here, but they are actually more closely related to giraffes. And these are a really quiet, solitary, hoofed animal that is native to the Democratic Republic of Congo area, the central forested parts of Africa. And they're so adept at hearing. You can see the large ears there, and also solitary. And scientists think that these traits really kept us scientists from discovering okapi until the early 1900s. So discovering, I mean, scientists did not know about okapi until the 1900s, but indigenous people, of course, did. So gorillas, here we have 2 gorilla troops at the zoo, but here's a photo just showcasing those youngins. So we do have a troop of bachelor males And then we have our family troop that has Sambili, who's the big sister, about 3 years old, and then Mbani, who is the little brother who just turned 2. And I'm going to show you that because he's just super cute. So this is from, I think, last week. This is enrichment. So the animals are given special treats or different kinds of flavors and smells and things to interact with. So that could be a frozen cake, like frozen juice. Awesome. So you're seeing in that of course, our gorillas are herbivores, so they were eating a fruit type frozen cake there. So the stars, actually, other than Mbani and Sambili, the young gorillas in our family troop, we were so excited this past year for the first time since 1974, welcoming a litter of 3 lion cubs. So the one male and 2 females, they were born to Bahati, who just turned 4 on St. Patrick's Day. So Mom Bahati was born St. Patrick's Day in 2017. And these are her cubs. So the pride now includes Bahati's mother, Lena, and Bahati's aunt, Jasiri, Lena's sister, and the cubs' father, Kijani. And you're going to see all of them in a video here because they are not this tiny anymore. They were born August 17th, but they're named, actually, I thought it was fun to share their names. The zoologists research names that would match their personalities and their circumstances. So the first cub was the male, and he is Izwi, which means vocal in the Shona language of Zimbabwe. So Izwi came into this world with a strong personality and a lot to say. And then the second cub is Ilola, meaning to become strong in the Sesotho language of South Africa. Ilola had to overcome significant challenges to becoming strong, including several weeks of physical therapy to correct some developmental issues in her legs. And you can see more about that in an Inside the Zoo video on YouTube, the Dallas Zoo YouTube channel. There's a whole series on how these cubs were born and came to be. And then the third one is Tadala, which means we have been blessed in the Southeast African Chua language. And they actually did not know for a while that there was a third cub in there. So like I said, they are grown up a little bit more now, so you can see them in this very recent video. They're the cubs. And there's the father, the male, Kijani. One of the cubs with one of the adult females. Oh, maybe the first one's for them. There's the cubs. You can see they're a little more scruffy. This is one of the adult females, Lena and Jasiri. The cub's mother and aunt. And a lot of people say that the lions kind of act like their very own house cat, just wanting to rest like that and take naps. But they're also fun and playful, especially with the cubs. Okay, the last animal I'm going to showcase is also a really recent animal, and I have the zoologist on here telling you all about Gus, our new male hippo.
Meet Augustus, or Gus for short. He's the newest member of our hippo float, and he's here for a very important reason.
Oh, something bad I just did. Okay. Got to go back. That was my fault. Okay.
the newest member of our hippo float, and he's here for a very important reason. We're working hard to make sure Gus feels comfortable in his new home and with his new roommate. Gus may be small in size, but his personality is as big as they come. Gus joined our hippo family last October when he came here to Dallas. He's going to eventually be introduced to our two females, Boy Pillow and Adana. Gus came to us from Florida on a breeding recommendation from the Species Survival Plan, or SSP, to hopefully breed in the future with our female Boy Pillow. And eventually, who knows, maybe our younger female as well. There's a lot of potential there. He's met our two female hippos in the building. He can actually interact with them in a controlled situation through our bollards, but they're not actually together yet. Gus is still a pretty young hippo. He just turned 3, and male hippos need to be a little bit older than that in order to reproduce. So he's going to grow a little bit and become a little bit more comfortable with our females. I think he's the perfect age to be part of our hippo family. When he first arrived, we weren't sure what he would look like being only 3 years old, but we looked and said, wow, this guy is pretty much a baby. He's small. He looks just a little bit bigger than our young female that's almost 2 years old. He's gonna fit in really well with Boy Pillow, not be too scary because he's not a big grown-up male, but also he's gonna be like a friend to Addie for a little while too. So I think that's a really good match for them. Gus, when he first arrived back in October, he was a pretty shy hippo. He spent most of his time in the water, but we spent a lot of time with him just sitting and talking to him and getting him more comfortable to our voices and us being near him. He was a little bit shy, but he came out of his shell pretty quickly, or I guess he came out of the water pretty quickly. He likes to hang out with us now. Anytime we enter the barn, he perks up and sees us, and he gets really excited. He has a lot of things that he already knows, which is pretty amazing. He does target, which is a really important behavior for him. So that way we can get him in whatever position we need him to be in. We can see different parts of his body, so we can keep up with his health care. So male hippos can keep growing their entire lives. Gus here weighs in at about 1,500 pounds. Since he arrived here in Dallas, he's gained already 500 pounds. He was very eager and excited to explore his new space. He loves to swim around and porpoise out of the water. He loves greeting guests up at the window. Him being able to discover himself out on the habitat has been really awesome to watch and exciting to see him figure out who he is and how he is fitting into his male hippo role here. We have fallen in love with Gus. He's just an amazing hippo. He's super friendly with the zoologists and with the public alike. You can come visit him in front of this viewing window, and he can do some jumps and rolls and all kinds of wonderful things. He really seems curious about us. I hope you guys come and visit him because he really needs a lot of attention out here. It has really been special to be able to interact with this awesome hippo. Okay, bye.
Gus is super fun. All right, and then finally, since you all love to travel, I wanted to let you know about some travel opportunities with our Wild Earth Action Team. Our Saving Sea Turtles trip in South Padre Island in partnership with Sea Turtle Inc. Is this summer, and details should be coming out soon on the website about that. If you want to go clean up sea turtle nesting habitat and watch a release of hatchlings at sunrise with the caretakers at Sea Turtle Inc., it's just a fabulous trip. There's also our Saving Bats trip, which will be maybe later in the early fall in Austin with Mexican free-tailed bats. And then next year, usually in January, we're helping plant trees in the piney woods for red cockaded woodpeckers in partnership with the National Park Service. And then in February, we're helping remove derelict crab traps from the coastal waters in whooping crane habitat, and that's in partnership with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So yeah, get involved with the Wild Earth Action Team and have some great experiences learning about and saving wildlife. And then I did say I was going to show you a little bit, so you can go to dallaszoo.com/reopen, and you should be able to see that here. So /reopen, and then you would be able to see kind of everything we're doing now. We reopened last May 29th, but we did keep our mask mandate, and that's for visitors ages 10 and up. And there is an exemption. So if you, for a health reason, can't wear a mask, then you would just speak to a guest services manager, and you would be given a pretty prominent like sticker to wear, so that you wouldn't just keep being reminded by our well-meaning staff and volunteers to put your mask back on. And tickets are reserved online in advance and timed and through scanning. Of course, it's always free to members, but you can scan this and kind of see what's open and what's not open. And the pricing is flex pricing now. So that would be under plan your visit. You can look at general information, get the map of the zoo, or buy your tickets. And I think you'd be able to see kind of how the schedules are, the hours. Of course, we're open every day but Christmas. So anyway, that's a little bit about the zoo, and I hit my 30 minutes. So I will stop there, and I'm happy to take questions if you want to hang around and still have time. Yes.
Great program. Thank you.
Thank you. When are the whooping cranes coming back?
So coming back to the zoo?
Yes.
I mean, so yeah, there is a plan to have a pair of whooping cranes that would be on a habitat in public view at the zoo. But right now they're all at our secure breeding center in the Samuel Farms area. But maybe you would, yeah, I'm not sure what the timeline is for that exhibit to be built.
Well, I saw 4 of them last month down at Port Lavaca.
Oh, the migrating. Oh, gotcha. Migrating whooping cranes. Yes. So they would be wintering down in Port Lavaca and along the coast.
Mm-hmm.
And they are probably now going north like everything else. So we're actually coming right up on peak migration season, which I think they're marking it like April 17th through May 9th, I think, is peak migration season for all the birds that are coming north from the coast, and also north from places in South America and islands. And Texas is their first landfall for many of them. So yeah, you can hopefully you'll see some migrating whooping cranes even over us in the skies.
We were not real close, so I'm looking forward to when I can see them a little closer.
Awesome. They're down there in the winter, so look for them down on the coast between November and February. Any other questions? Edward.
And
so how long have you, a couple of things. So how long have you worked at the zoo? And so what was your path to be a zoo, whatever it is you do at the zoo?
Sure, yeah. I started as the education director at the end of 2012. So I've been there just over 8 years. And before that, I was an education manager for the Audubon, National Audubon Society at Dogwood Canyon Audubon Center in Cedar Hill, which is in South Dallas County. And then another great place you guys can have a meetup out at Dogwood Canyon Audubon Center. And I came to Dogwood Canyon in 2011 when I moved to Dallas to get married. So before that, I was in environmental education for about 10 years in the East Texas Piney Woods at a residential outdoor education facility for the Houston School District that has since been closed by their school board. But it was open for more than 40 years and was introducing inner city urban youth to the ecology and environmental concepts using a science. So we were basically like a science class, an extension of their science class, but they would come in and spend the night at our camp for 3 nights and 4 days and do science classes with us. So I was a teacher there. And I was also a high school art teacher, and being a teacher with my summers off, I was a camp director for a few different camps, and also have some experience with challenge course facilitation and training, and also a mountain guide 1 year. So yeah, the outdoors kind of captured me in college. But I was a graphic design major, so my undergrad is in fine arts. And then when I was captured by the outdoors, I went into teaching in the outdoors and earned my teaching certificate. So I'm a certified teacher, and my master's is in secondary education with instructional leadership. And so that, yeah, so nonprofit management also is kind of what I do now, managing a great team of educators and interpreters at the zoo.
All right, thank you very much.
You are the
interesting-
youngest
that's a-
90-year-old I have ever seen. The youngest looking 90-year-old, because you have to be that old to have done all that.
Oh no, some things are seasonal. I was only, yeah, I have about 20 years of environmental education experience overall.
Mhm. Can you
The
talk
zoo is
about
lucky to have you.
what
Say
about
that
the
again.
volunteer opportunities at the zoo?
Yeah, volunteer opportunities. Yeah, just like Julia. So volunteers are back. So we do have volunteer positions. Some people choose to be keeper aides. So that is going to be helping behind the scenes in the animal care areas. Julia could probably tell you more. It's a lot of cleaning. Is that what you did, Julia? You were a
No,
keeper aide?
I
Oh,
was
you-
I worked in the Giants of Savannah Visitor
Conservation.
Center.
Gotcha. So that's the conservation ambassador. And those are the two kind of different roles for adult volunteers. And the conservation ambassadors are going to engage with guests. They're going to talk about what we have going on, not only just the animals that you're seeing and interpreting the behaviors that you're watching, but also how you can get involved and things you can do in your daily life to help save the species. Much of what I spoke with you about today. So you can apply online, I believe. I'll share again the Dallas Zoo website here and see if you can, from our home page, you would go to support us and then volunteer. And then you would see how you can apply now or contact the volunteer team. And then it explains a little bit about that. So Zoo Crew is one of my programs. Education department manages the youth volunteer program, but the adult opportunities are keeper aid and also an animal nutrition center and conservation ambassadors are what I mentioned. And then some people who don't want to give a real regular time, but just want to come out occasionally. Maybe that's going to be a special project or a special event. Yeah. Who else?
So Julia, how did you get involved? How did you?
I suppose I've always liked animals, and when I retired from nursing, I was absolutely goofy about elephants. So I kind of looked into that, and when they said, "Where would you like to volunteer?" It's like Giants of Savannah. So I think at my age, I decided I'm probably not going back to Africa. So Africa has come to me. But I haven't volunteered since the COVID. Are the volunteers all, is it kind of sort of back to normal, Marty, with masks on?
It is pretty different. The Conservation Ambassador program has changed.
Okay.
Not so much the role of the ambassador, but the logistics around that. So the speaking to the guest and engaging and all of that is the same. There's a training program in place, a continuing education program for those volunteers that helps our staff do the same things. And then there's also a zone. So in signing up, it's not just going to be indoors at the Giants of the Savannah. There's going to be a zone, and there could be some outdoor places so that we actually hope to eventually be able to expand the zones to cover the whole park and have different areas that right now where we can't engage with guests, but having volunteers all over the zoo to chat with people. So there's a couple of differences, but yes, masks are part of it.
Well, now I've been vaccinated,
Yes, yeah.
I'm more free, I feel, to go.
Maybe you can get reactivated.
Right.
It looks like Kathy was going to ask a question.
Oh, I just wanted to tell you what a wonderful program it was.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
definitely.
It's just really terrific.
Thank you so much.
Very professional,
Yes.
organized.
Thank you. Was there anyone's favorite animal that I didn't include? I can edit it.
No, but could you tell me, Marty, how many horny toads do we have in Texas?
I do not know that answer.
I used to play with them all the time as a kid.
Yeah, you used to see
Yeah.
them all around, but
Yeah, they're
they've
really
been affected, obviously.
they have.
Marty, I saw a program on PBS and they said that hippos could not swim.
That's right. They actually walk and sort of, bounce off of the bottom of the pool or the body of water where they are. They don't.
They're not actually swimming.
They're not swimming. They are not like paddling or swimming. They're actually like, it would be like me kind of walking across the bottom of a pool where I might be bouncing off the bottom. That's what they do. And they're very buoyant in order to do that.
They make lots of noises at night.
Yeah.
We had them outside of our cabin in Africa, and oh, the noise was wonderful.
Yes.
So are there other questions, comments? Well, let's give Marty a big hand and thank you.
Thank you very much.
We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to meet with you all, and I hope to get to see you again, maybe at the zoo when you all come on an outing, right?
Yeah, we can hop down on the train.
That's right.
Right.
Oh.